Hello, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Tech. This is April 8th, so let's do this thing. Let's skip on over to Monitor 2. All right, so let's talk about some hacking stuff real quick, because this is a big thing. Apparently, fingerprint authentication, not great. I mean, we kind of already knew a little bit about that. Who, in Discord, uh, who uses fingerprint authentication for their phone
I do.
primarily?
I do. That's cool.
Yeah. So Apple is a little bit different because it only allows up to I think five times, five attempts um, before you have to put in your PIN or your password. Other manufacturers, it, that number is way different. It could be 20 times. It could be unlimited times. Um, I forget exactly who it was. It was Cisco's Talos Security Group, which is a very good security group. By the way, they spent months and thousands of dollars to make this work, but they were able to come up with fake fingers and fake fingerprints, and it worked roughly 80% of the time on most fingerprint readers.
Mm.
So if your hacker knows what they're doing, uh, and they have the time and the effort, they can have a lot of success with this. But that also means that you have to have a lot of time to dedicate to this. So is it really that insecure? Probably not. But if someone knows what they're doing, they can get past it in no time at all. So be careful with fingerprint security. Speaking of, let's talk about Zoom.
Oh,
Oh
I love
boy.
Zoom.
Oh
Has
yeah, I
anyone
heard that.
heard
I got a
anything about
class in.
Zoom?
Oh, I
Yeah.
have. I heard
Oh
someone
man.
leaked their class's Zoom code and had a whole bunch of people from Discord join. Don't know who
Yeah.
that person would be.
Okay, so
I-
we know what Zaki did a few days ago, probably.
Oh
Yep.
no, that was not me. What, you think I would do something like that? What's wrong with
So
you?
that's
Yeah,
the least bad
but
thing that's happened with Zoom.
didn't Zoom like they're actually in? They said that they weren't keeping people's like recordings of their classes or whatever, but they actually were.
Well, what
And then
I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff,
bad.
really. But they said that they were doing end-to-end encryption. They weren't. They actually had access to it, um, and people were able to get access to that because they have weaknesses on their end. So people were joining meetings. People got other people's user data. It was a real big problem. This problem specifically has been fixed, where they can get your Windows credentials, which is kind of terrifying. They fixed it, and they've talked. We're not going to bring out any new features for a while. We're going to do a feature freeze for the next 90 days. Um, so that's good. And instead, they're going to work on vulnerabilities. So they've come under a lot of fire. I don't know if has any other teacher talked about the vulnerabilities in Zoom or have changed their plan because of this.
The
Nope.
cybersecurity teacher keeps using Zoom, and I feel like it's kind of funny because he should know about it.
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Mr. P.
Stuart, you said something?
Oh, I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it is kind of interesting. I still no one has come up with a good reason why everyone's using Zoom. Everyone I keep hearing this question. I keep asking this question, like why what, why are we all using Zoom? Who decided Zoom? Everybody in the United States is using Zoom right now, and Zoom's free, but there are so many alternatives that are also free. Discord, I mean Skype isn't good, but it works and it's free. You can do so many things and a lot of premium features right now on a lot of different video chat pieces of software um, are free now. Or they're being offered for educational use. So I don't quite understand why we all decided on Zoom. I still don't know. But they seem to be working on it. They seem to I don't know. Before all this, they were like, whatever. We're number 7 as far as video chat numbers go, and now all of a sudden they're number 1, and they're like, oh, we should probably step up our game. Not any of the other teachers have talked about Zoom's problems. That is interesting. I mean, it's come up a couple times in our meetings, but Everyone still seems to be using it. I have not used. Oh, I've used Zoom for Butler Tech stuff. That's it. And we in Butler Tech have the education license, which means we get a little bit more security. My wife is using Zoom, but she's special ed. She's a special ed teacher. They use the education license. Everything's password protected, and it's just 1-to-1. Anyway, because I have another thing about Zoom. Let's like, you guys can keep asking questions, and we'll talk about this too. So there's security tips for every teacher, professor, and just anyone who's using Zoom. Yeah, waiting rooms on Zoom are now default, which is good. You have to be let into the meeting. But basically, here's some tips. Zoom actually does offer like a lot of options to help like the security of your meeting, and I just think that a lot of them were not default before. So you make sure meetings are password protected. Don't announce meetings on social media or other public outlets. Um, Inspect the list of participants, making sure that like no random people are on. Let's see. Are we good? I think. Yep. This week in tech, we're good. Uh, Carefully control screen sharing. Don't let just anybody, because there were some problems with that. People joined a primary ed, I think like even a pre-K or like a kindergarten class or first grade meeting, and they were like outsiders. They got into a meeting and did some very inappropriate things. People joined meetings and started like shouting slurs and that sort of thing. So it's not great. Um, Disable the join before host setting, so the host has to join first. Lock a meeting after it started. Say no one else can join. Um, Everything that's within your view of the camera, just be careful about like any sort of personal information. At this point, it sounds like a Discord server. Honestly, Discord's probably more secure. I feel like there's a couple of 0 days for you. Yeah, I do think that there's some real issues. I mean, they clearly have shown that they don't know security in the past, so I kind of feel like something's going to catch up to them in a big way. So be careful on Zoom. Don't use a normal password. And if your teacher requires it, I don't know. To break Discord,
Saying that
yeah.
Discord sounds more secure is sort of scary.
Well, I mean it's because there's a bunch of gamers and
Yeah.
hackers, and
Mhm.
Discord like used to allow hacking communities, and then they banned them because those communities would try and make exploits for Discord, and then they just banned all game hacking, any type of hacking. They started banning modding communities too. So, like, it's from personal experience, it's really hard to break Discord. Discord runs on Chromium too, so it's generally secure.
Yeah. Discord is. I mean, there's a reason I chose Discord over a lot of things. I'm familiar with it. I've moderated and been an admin on small channels, but so this is a little bit of a step up, just making sure that permissions are pretty sound on Discord. Let me know if, by the way, if you find something, because I want to clear up any holes. But Discord is pretty good. Well, that doesn't stop a spicy DDoS. This is fact. All right, let's move on. So this one's real quick. We've talked about companies making ventilator parts. Apple is going to make millions of medical face shields. So PPE in hospitals. It's good news. More people just helping out in this time. So big ups to Apple for that. Did Markiplier made a Discord server? Oh yeah. Oh, I think I remember this. Yeah. They were like, no. Because there is a theoretical max. Well, no, it's not theoretical. It's happened. I don't remember how big it is, but to a Discord server, it's like 500,000 or something. Oh, 5K. Okay. Way less than 500. Wow. Yeah. 5K is not much. All right. So this one, next story, NASA. Exponential jump in malware attacks as personnel work from home. So this is a thing that a lot of people saw coming. Everyone moved to remote work really super fast. Wow, 25K. That's ridiculous. 25K people on Markiplier's Discord server. and it just broke Discord. That makes sense because it was never made for anything that huge. But anyway, so phishing attacks. Actually, Butler Tech had one. I mean, it happens periodically. No one. Um, I don't think it worked for anybody. I don't think anyone actually clicked the link, but there was an email sent to me. That was a phishing scam, and right away, Derek Murphy, our IT guy, was on top of it, saying like, "Don't click the link. Report it as phishing. It should be secure now anyway, but just in case, just don't click it." It's happening all over the place. People are taking advantage of the fact that everyone jumped really quickly to remote work. Um, Especially some although feds have been doing it for a while, but I don't know about NASA specifically. NASA might have had an issue with working from home because there are so many like very secure things. So they're trying to get past all the phishing attacks for COVID-19 and coronavirus by like blocking a bunch of hosts and domains. But yeah, you guys specifically be careful. Don't be quick to click links on emails. If something um, I don't know, if something's really simple and like, hey, click this for the document, like don't click that. Just be really careful about everything that you click in the places you go right now. All right, so T-Mobile and Sprint merged. That happened. It's official. Um, Although there's a small California agency, the California Public Utilities Commission, who's like, hold on a second. We had a meeting to do the merger approval April 16th. That hasn't happened yet, and yet you merged. So T-Mobile and Sprint obviously knew that this was happening, and they were like, we're just going to merge early. We don't really care. And so they just went completely over the government's head. And the CPUC is super angry about it, and now it might affect how T-Mobile and Sprint can operate in California. We'll see. But I mean, technically, they are merged now. And I just wanted to talk about this because there's actually like, if you're a tech company now, you have to align to so many different governments' laws and regulations that it can be kind of difficult, which makes sense. But like Europe has a bunch of laws and regulations that we don't have that are aimed to protect users, but that tech companies have to work around. Some of them only work around those things in those countries. Some of them just decide blanket, like, okay, if we have to do it in Europe, we have to do it everywhere. But this one, it looks like it might just affect some commerce that happens with T-Mobile and Sprint in California, but we don't know what that means yet because it just happened. So we'll see. Still says Sprint is its network. Yeah, probably. It probably will change. I don't know exactly when. There's probably a like rollout, full-on roll. I mean, there is a full-on rollout plan. Eventually, it will change to T-Mobile. I think the Sprint name will eventually just completely go away. So yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, this one's fun. So this is a smart lock made by TapLock. Yeah, TapLock. So it's a smart lock that uses fingerprint reading,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
yeah, and also Bluetooth with your personal device. So if you're nearby,
That's
it can unlock it. The only problem is that it's super unsecure in every single way
Yeah.
possible.
From
Like
hack-
physically, you can take a screwdriver and unscrew the back, and then you can unlock it.
Dang.
From a security standpoint, like software wise and network wise, they actually had no security team on this at all until the Federal Trade Commission found weaknesses in the lock itself. So they've never put up any sort of security. It's incredibly easy to get in and unlock it. It's a $100 lock that is borderline useless. So
Seriously.
it is kind of one of those things like, how did this happen? I didn't even remember this part in the article, but yeah, they didn't have a security program. Shouldn't this be something that's regulated? Like, you should know. The company I remember in it or in its language said that it's a secure like we have secure software programming. Our network is secure. The lock itself is secure. It can claim all those things and sell the product. Um, Now they're getting sued and now they're facing legal issues, but they were able to sell the product for more than a year. Um, and a bunch of people have this and I mean like they've had that amount of time. Should these sort of things have to go through a process to get approved beforehand, especially when it comes to like and the um the software itself has a bunch of your personal data. It uses a bunch of your personal data and that's not secure as well. So not only are they getting into the thing that it's locking, they're also getting into your personal data. So be careful what you buy when it comes to any sort of smart product or any sort of software that you use.
Mr. Bot.
Yeah.
So now, if there's people out now that can use like lasers, if you have like a Google Home device
Hmm.
or any device that has a microphone,
Yeah.
now people are getting skilled enough to where they can use lasers. If it's voice activated, they can use the laser to mimic your voice and unlock anything or get into anything now.
Interesting. Well, I saw there was a thing a few weeks ago about like vibration. Like you can attach something that vibrates on a table and the vibrations mimic voice and they can unlock like voice assistant capabilities. So like that kind of thing. You have to be a little careful
Yeah.
with anything voice assisted. $50 lock and be able to. I mean, there are a lot of locks out there that are really bad. Um, there's like a YouTube channel called Lockpicking Lawyer that I recommend you checking out sometime. Uh, and it's kind of amazing how bad most locks and safes are. So do a lot of research before you buy something. A lot of people are typing in chat. I don't know. Should I wait for questions? Who buys a lock anymore? And that's true. If you take off the doorknob, nobody can open the door. Yeah, yeah. Encryption is getting better and better, but computers are very powerful. They can get past encryption a lot more easily than they used to. Oh, there's a lot of vulnerabilities that have been found in the past year, like on physical like firmware, CPU, BIOS vulnerabilities. It's real. It's real rough right now. Security wise, everything is breached all the time. Just assume that everything is breached. But anyway, let's talk about this Quibi. Quibi. We talked about it really briefly last time, and we talked. It's like this. It's app. It's an app. It's only available for mobile devices, and it's little 10-minute or less. Like it's kind of like a streaming server. I mean, it is a streaming service, but it's only for 10 minutes or less. So it's not competing with Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or any of those. It's honestly probably more competing with things like TikTok, but not really. I don't know. It's like a niche in between. Um, yeah, like TikTok. Yeah, it's I would say it's right in the middle. And apparently it's pretty decent, or at least like the initial uh programming content for it. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Yeah, they talk about the different programming. There's a few of the different shows. Um, like one thing, depending on the orientation of your device, it like frames shows differently. So you can kind of see, you can kind of go back to it, like automatically focuses in on like who's talking if you do upright, or like the side to side. If you have your device upright, it puts a little thing up top and then Will Arnett in the bottom. And apparently the Culture Hole show is not terrible. Um, Different framing. Sophie Turner. Actually, that's a completely different shot on Sophie Turner, depending on that show. Um, this is a weird murder house flip. It's like famous houses where like bad things happen that they flip and sell. I don't know. I don't know if it's serious or not, but it's just kind of an interesting take. They're it's different. It's not competing with anybody, and apparently, like, could be something worth looking into. There's a 90-day free trial, so try it out if you want. It's not really necessarily my thing, but if you want to try it out, and then drop it as soon as 90 days are up. PlayStation controller, it happened. This is it. PlayStation 5. It's very interesting looking. I don't know how to feel about this controller. It has haptic feedback, so that's good. People like haptic feedback. It's got it's got USB Type-C. That's good. That's fantastic. So does Xbox Series X though. It still has these annoying. I don't like the triggers down here because you lay it down and you accidentally like it presses them down. So that's not great. They changed the share button to a create button. Don't really know what that's about yet. It's kind of interesting. I kind of like it from this angle. This angle's kind of cool. That looks like a mix between a PlayStation controller and an Xbox controller. A little bit. This weird front view though, I don't know about that. That's a bit weird, but we'll see. I like USB-C. I do. I like haptic feedback. Here we can quickly look. Here's what we know so far about the competition. Let me look at chat real quick. Start and select buttons look pretty pressable now. I think it looks interesting. I don't know. I'm not like sold or against it at all. So from like a hardware perspective on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, they're pretty close in almost every way. Data it's a little iffy. But like the things where PlayStation 5 is not quite as good or Xbox, I don't know. It's their consoles. They don't have to be perfectly to get like the same, or they could be completely different and they'd still work with their strengths. It does sort of look like an Xbox controller. It's a huge change. I'm kind of glad they went with a different look. It's also called DualSense. That's the new name for the controller. Bluetooth, don't know. AV hookups, there we go. Controller comparison, they're pretty much the same. Haptic feedback on both of them, adaptive triggers. Xbox Series X has a weird D-pad. PlayStation 5 is, more normal. Dynamic latency input for Xbox. Oh, AA batteries for Xbox Series X. Oof, I like the rechargeable internal battery. They have not. I don't know if they have said that if PS5 is going to be backwards compatible. For some reason my Control F went into Discord. There we go. What was the thing? Backwards compatibility. PlayStation 4 games and PSVR. They have both. And then Xbox 360, Xbox One, and accessories. So, like, the Series X is all about backwards compatibility. Top 100 games on PS4 based on playtime. Interesting. Okay. That's cool. But yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else to talk about with this? It's a controller. Is my phone going off? Yes, it is. There we go. Decline. All right. Let's do the next story then. I know you guys are still talking about this, but we'll move on. Google has been tracking everyone during this pandemic, and they kind of gave out reports on all the different areas. So everyone who has location tracking on their phone, just to let you know, Google knows where you are. They took your data and they privatized it, or they made it anonymous, and then they aggregated all the data. Yeah, I know. You can turn it off. You can turn off Google tracking on your phone, but everyone that had it turned on, they made your data anonymous and they aggregated it so that they could use this for lawmakers and people who are making decisions right now. So yeah, you can see mobility reports. That's the whole point of this. They're making mobility reports on different areas across the world. So we can see the report on Butler County, Ohio. Travel. Yeah, this is exactly what they're doing. They're seeing who's traveling. So let's take a look at Butler County real quick. So this has been updated March 29th. So it's been a few days. It's been a week or more than a week. But this is information a week ago. Retail and recreation was down 45% compared to baseline. So like some retail is still open, but most of it's not. So it's down almost 50%. Grocery and pharmacy down 20% compared to baseline. Parks up 136% compared to baseline. Certain areas, parks are way down. But in a lot of Ohio areas, especially like Butler, I live in Hamilton, so I looked at Hamilton County. Yeah, everyone's at parks right now. Or they were. I don't know. That might be changing because people are starting to look down on like, hey, you don't want to go to a park with a billion people there too. So I don't know. Transit stations down 6%. That's because there's not really a lot of public transportation in Butler County. Workplaces down 35%. People working from home. People that are unfortunately, at least hopefully temporarily unemployed. So it's down quite a bit. Then there's people who are essential workers that are still going into work. And residential is up 10%. So people chilling in their house. It's only that one seems weird to me. It's only 10%, but I don't know. So just thought that was kind of interesting. They say they're only going to do this until health officials don't find this useful anymore. So we'll see how long that is. But yeah, that's all I've got this week for This Week in Tech. Does anyone have anything specifically This Week in Tech related that they wanted to add before I move on to any sort of office hour type thing? Not really. You can say it out loud if you want as well. If you are here and you were a little bit late, make sure you have typed something in the chat. Just anything in the chat at this point. So that now you're good. That's all good. Hello. I've been like looking at the lists for the whole time, but like just in case, I just want to make sure there's evidence that you were here. What about Xbox? The Series X controller? Series X looks it's weird. I looked online and there's just not that many photos of it. But it looks like an Xbox controller for the most part, except the D-pad and some of these buttons. I don't remember what they do. This one is probably the share, or I actually I don't know. This is those upload button.
Have they showed anything
All
about
right, see you,
new
Robert. What Carson?
Have they say anything about the new Xbox console?
Have you seen it?
No. Is it actually like today, like officially,
Yeah.
officially thing, or oh, it is. Dang.
Yeah. Here, let's take
I
a
need to
look
get
real
out
quick.
more like that. I did not know that.
Boom. Xbox Series X. There you go. That's what it looks like. It looks like a computer. Yeah, Isaac, you can ask a question too. We'll look at this. It looks also like a fridge. A lot of people are calling it a fridge. Yes. Air cooling
Fridge.
through the top. Yeah. But it's pretty decent. 8K support, custom AMD, that's PS5, but they have basically the same. Navi 12, it has DirectX ray tracing.
I apologize for being late again. My mom called me to do more laundry.
Oh my
That's a
God.
lot of laundry, Zachy.
Carson's like, no, I was doing the folding this time and the hanging. You see, before I was just putting stuff in the dryer.
There we go. Do you have an official image for PS5? No, not yet. No. The controller is the first thing they've shown off officially. The only thing we've seen is dev builds.
Yeah, the only major like difference between the controller and like older controllers is like the plus pad or whatever it's called isn't really a plus anymore. It has like the diagonal buttons.
Yeah,
That's
it
all
has
I've
all
noticed.
those. That's for accessibility. So like, Xbox and Microsoft have been working on different accessibility controllers, which I think is super cool. And they say it's a little bit easier, it's a little bit more accessible for certain people to have that that diagonal D-pad like that. Do they have more? There we
Yeah.
go. To have this D-pad. Oh wait, hold on, I'm not showing that anymore. To have this D-pad. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Wait
Looks
a
like
minute, wasn't that announced like years ago?
not
Like,
years
I've
ago.
seen
No,
that-
we were just talking about the PS5 controller, so we were comparing what we know about Xbox Series X to this, to the
All right, if you
PS5
don't mind me
controller.
asking, what did I miss?
You missed real quick breakdown. New PS5 controller. Google has your data, and it's
Wait,
using it to
that's
see
already-
where
I've
you
known
are
that since
during
2015.
COVID. Quibi is coming out, and it's not terrible. This thing is really bad. Don't use this thing. There you go. For people who are doing this later on, there you go. That's a really
Pro
quick
skimming skills.
rundown of all the different stories, or most of them. All right, any more specific to This Week in Tech questions? I'm going to stop recording here in a second.
Oh,
Nope.
Actually, I do have a question.
Uh-huh.
Will I still get the credit for participation?
I don't know, Zachy. Do you feel like you participated?
I
Nope.
really did attempt to, but the laundry, it was
Thank
too
you.
much.
That's a lot of laundry.
Zero.
Well,
All right,
I had to
I'm
fold
going
up
to
a lot
end
of
This
them,
Week in
doing the
Tech
whole house's
here.
laundry.
So I'm ending that recording. See you guys.